Welcome back to our show, Back to Basics, a hardwiring in Christ through conversations. Each week we will discuss different topics focusing on marriage, family, communications, and etc. through the lens of Christ. This is Faustman in the seat lonely this week. Hey, Mike Felipe, if you listen out there, you can always come out and check us out, or Heather or Bobby Danger. We're always looking for someone to engage in conversation in our face. So if you want to engage us live in the conversation, you can call us live at 253-584-1480 or text us on Facebook at Back2Basics. Again, you'll see our logo is a compass is attached for you to identify the page. Also, Bobby Danger and myself are on there. If we don't get your question today live, we will answer that within 24 hours unless we get surge, which is our hope in Christ, to get this message out and help you all to love in practical ways in Christ. So last week, we talked about pleasing God through the lens of John Lynch's book, The Cure. Pretty awesome book. He's out there in Arizona, and also my wifey is out in Arizona checking out the land. So if you like our message and want us to stay out here in Washington, you can always just give us a shout back at Back to Basics, but we'll always serve you no matter where we're at. So we enter the room of grace. We enter through the room of good intentions. Sorry about that. Room of good intentions, and the hostess asked us to put on a mask. So, and the banner on the back wall we talked about last week was working on our sin to achieve an intimate relationship with God. So we're going to continue in that room of good intentions, and if this is a review, then awesome. If this is new for you, it's new information, and we'll see where it leads us. So we read the banner, and it resonates something inside of us. I was so close at first with God, and then over time my failures and sin, and it felt to drive the wedge. I corrected it, but the chasm got bigger. I could imagine it at a distance with my his arms folded and disappointed, just shaking his head. God going to him saying, I wish this kid could just get it right. Saying I was hopeful, had so much hope for him or her. And now I look across the room and a great crowd of people and can see this sin chasm I want to see this sin chasm shrink, and I can please God. That's what this message talks about. And the room is so filled with so many impressive people. And these people are amazing. There's Fortune 500 people that give 90% of their wealth. There's people that go over and sacrifice all their life and entity to go live in foreign countries. You name it, that's what the room was filled with. There's all those great people, the Mother Teresas of the world. So many people are like this in the room. And this lights a fire inside me to fix this gap, to break this sin, to go over and get right with God. Do you feel that way? Do you connect with this message? If you do, you can call us at 253-584-1480 to discuss that, because this is a conversation, or you can text us on the Back to Basics page on Facebook. We get the messages pretty instantaneously. We are live with Wi-Fi, so we can pretty much answer your question. You don't even have to leave your name. So, weeks run into months into this room, and at first, I feel great, but as time goes by, I get a sudden unease creeping up, and it gets stronger by the day. I just can't put my finger on it. There's a semi-joking banter that I keep hearing that puts people down, and as I stand there on the fringes of crowds, this bragging, this banter is annoying. Have you been there before? If you have, just give us a shout back, 253-584-1480, or hit us on the Back to Basics page if you resonate with this. And that's back with the number 2 basics. These masks are so elaborate, and they look fashioned, kind of like a Mardi Gras or a masquerade party, if you ever guys been there. That's what you would see in this room. And the conversations are superficial, guarded at best. And as I look intently in these seas of masks, people sometimes they take them off, and they know I'm not looking at their face. And I can see this unbelievable, deep, lonely pain in their faces. Over time, my thoughts change as I'm in this room. The comfort I felt is fading more and more of each and every day. I have this nagging sensation if I don't measure up with these people, I'm not going to measure up with God, and then God and these people are going to kick me out of this little room. Actually, it's a pretty giant room, but it feels so little to me now. Does this sound like old hat for you? Is this profound to you, or is this new? Give us a call. Shoot us back at 253-584-1480. Or again, if you're new and you like technology, you can hit us on Facebook and text us live on the Back to Basics page. It's back, the number 2 basics. Direct link to the page, if you guys are having problems finding it, is www.facebook.com/back, the number 2 basics, Clay, Klay, 1180 AM. That's the direct URL. So if you can't find us instantaneously on Facebook, go in that route. So, even though I am passionate in this room and I'm sincerely serving, I just keep sinning. My days sometimes get fixating on not sinning. Then I go to the wash, rinse, and repeat on this cycle. If you ever read your bottle on your soap bottle, it's going to say wash, rinse, and repeat. You would stay in the shower all day. And that's the same thing that happens in my sin. I just keep getting fixated on it. I just wash, rinse, and repeat this cycle. I used to be a social butterfly when I first got in this room, and now I spend more time alone. When I'm in public, I can't stay long because the mask is so itchy. I just want to get it off. But now I'm prepping and I'm preparing to even be with people. It's the simplest things as saying how you're doing. It was just been exhausting and daunting. It seems I can't do enough to make these people happy, or God for that matter at all. And I come to the conclusion I need to please the people in this room and God, and I can't do it. I don't even know why I'm even here anymore. I don't even know why. So, what is the lie in this room? What did we discover in this room? And it's a simple formula. It's more right behavior plus less wrong behavior equals godly man or godly woman, as John talks about. And it's everything but biblical. Where are you at this equation? Where do you see that going back? Do you see yourself as more right behavior plus less wrong behavior is godliness? Do you agree it's biblical? Do you not agree it's biblical? Give us a shout back, 253-584-1480, or you can go over and text us on the Back to Basics Facebook page. Either way, we'll get a response to you as quickly as we can. This equation actually disregards the righteousness that God has already placed in me. And I want you to soak that in for a moment, that we are righteous in Christ the second he went on the cross and he took our sin. So we wear a robe of righteousness on us always. So soak that in for a moment. And let me give you an example of that, because this is a positional truth, and this is probably something huge for you guys. A positional truth is something that stays the same no matter what it is. And let me give you an example. So about 3-4 years ago, I got a tattoo, and I've taken, because I'm part-time military right now, I go over and I took the stripes that I wear. If you understand about the military, we go up in stripes, and I went over and I got a tattoo. It doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter if I cover it up. It doesn't matter if I totally ignore it. It's still there. It's the same thing with the righteousness that God's already placed in you, is that even on your worst day, you are Christ in Faustman, or Christ in Michelle, or Christ in whatever the name is, put the blank in there. And that's what it is. It's a positional truth. It doesn't matter if I ignore the tattoo. It doesn't matter if I go over and try to cover it up every day. It's still there. And that's what the same thing is this righteousness in God that he's given us. And if we disregard this, it just hides away who we truly are. This path is rough because of the one truth. And what is it? Do you know? If you guys know, give me a shout back, 253-584-1480, or again, hit us up on Back to Basics Facebook page. And the truth is in this room is we can't resolve our sin by working on it. But we don't believe in that. And let me give you another illustration on that. When I was in Germany for a long time before I was married, I struggled with lust and masturbation, you name it, whatever it was. And, walk into the action, go over and feel bad, and then totally restrict myself from people and try to paper mache my mask on. In about 2 to 3 days, I'd be ill-effective. And I thought, okay, I can resolve this. I can not walk into pornography or not walk into these things or get more time with God and whatnot and fix these things. But I can't resolve that sin by working on it until I realized, as I got legitimate time with God and believed on what God called me to be in Isaiah 43 and 53, and I challenge you guys to read that you'll realize that God's always with you, and then you don't have to be lonely anymore. So as you learn more of your identity, you struggle less with that. And even if you walk into that particular sin issue whatever way you want to call it, you heal quicker because you know your identity in Christ, and that's not you. That was just a moment in time, and that doesn't make your identity. So we tend to use this behavior, but we rely on that. If we rely on this type of behavior of resolving our sin and by working on it, we're just arranging the deck chairs on a ship to hide the holes. And no more of the moral striving we do that we do is going to make us. It's not going to help us sin any less. It might just do it for a while, and it will just exhaust us. It's kind of like jumping on a hamster wheel, and where does that leave us if we jump on that hamster wheel? It just leaves us immature. So, do you believe that this formula is accurate on going over and doing more right things and doing less things is going to make you godly? Call us, argue with me. That's fine, as long as you're not dropping any of the bombs there on radio. It's fine. 253-584-1480, or give us a chat back on the Back to Basics page, and you can freely talk to us anytime on that. The scary part as Christians, and even as our churches, we keep living this theology out, and it just breaks our hearts. Every day we just go over and say, correct these behaviors, do these right things, and then we'll go over and be okay. So for me personally, and as the story goes, so I want a resolution, so I work frantic to find someone to talk to in this room of good intentions, and no one wants to hear it. It exposes them, so they don't speak to me. And I'm gasping for air because I'm struggling so much to be in this room. And I finally slip out the back door unnoticed because I'm crushed. Have you recently slipped out of the room of good intentions? How does it feel if you've got out of this room? Just give us a shout back. Give us your thoughts. 253-584-1480. Or again, you can text us on the Back to Basics page. So I walked out of this room, and after a few hours, I walked back to the fork in the road. And I see a couple that smile at me for that was there just a long time ago when I first went down that path. It's been months, and I'm like, they're there. And I'm kind of set aback that they're still there. But his smile is real. And he says, that place is weird, and we are so glad we're out of that mess. And after that, I'm just a little befuddled by the comment. And he goes back to napping with his wife. So now I keep walking this path, and then I'm at the pole because I'm at the fork in the road, and it says a sign of trusting God. Where in the path are you at? Are you off on the sides because you're exhausted? Give us a shout back, 253-584-1480. You don't feel comfortable being on the line? Give us a shout back on the Back to Basics page, and that's back, the number 2, basics. So I look at the sign, trusting God, and I yell, is there another road? And no one responds. So I sigh, and I press down the other road, because there's no other path I can go. So I look at this path, and it's a little more rougher, rutted, riddled with stones. It's a little steeper. I have to take the path a little slower, but it's prettier too. You see the natural hewn stone bridges, the flat, fast-flowing creeks, the scenic vistas, and the vast green valleys. How does this sound so far? What are you guys' thoughts on that? Give us a shout back, 253-584-1480, or you can go hit us on the Back to Basics page, and that's back, the number 2, basics. This takes me several hours to walk this path. Now, I see another large building in the distance, just like we were last time at the Room of Good Intentions. And I approach the building, and I'm hesitant at first. And there's another message on the door that says, living out who God says I am. And I respond loudly saying, is this supposed to help me? I'm supposed to perform, shape up, pull myself from my bootstraps. But there's nothing left. And this time, the doorknob says humility. And this washes over me and floods me. And I say, I'm so tired. I just can't do this. God, if you don't do something, I won't make it. And after a few minutes of adjusting myself and fixing my hair, and, I think I need to look presentable to go in this next room, I turn the doorknob and I enter. Would you enter this room? Give us a shout back at